Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to begin by offering Catherine's and my condolences to those families who have lost a loved one. We noticed that was happening today, so we wanted to say that we have our deepest sympathies. I'd like to thank Sheikh Abdullah for the gracious invitation to be here with you today, and thank you, Faraz Marish, for that wonderful khutbah. I'm so pleased to be here with all of you, to be joined by Fayaz Karim, the NDP's incredible candidate in Mississauga-Streetsville, who of course many of you already know. Fayaz is a strong voice for your community, and I know he'll do a remarkable job as a Member of Parliament representing your concerns in Ottawa. For years, this mosque has played a vital role in Mississauga, promoting education and charity for all. And it's been a leader in promoting unity, a lesson so important to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's that unity, the rock-solid belief that we are all stronger when we support one another, that brings me here today. You know, I grew up the second oldest in a family of 10 children. We didn't have much. We had to work hard just to get by, like many of you here today. It wasn't easy, but we learned the importance of looking out for one another, sticking together, of community, generosity. These are the values that guide me every single day. These are the values that guide Fayaz, and these are the values that guide the NDP. That's why our party is so committed to fighting Islamophobia in all its forms, because we strongly believe that hate has no place in Canada. And that's why we are the only party standing up to Stephen Harper's dangerous new anti-terrorism legislation that threatens the very values that Canada is built upon. Like everyone in Canada, New Democrats were shocked by the horrific and cowardly attacks in Ottawa and Quebec last fall. On the night of the Parliament Hill shooting, I spoke to the nation and said that violence should never make us more fearful of our neighbours or less confident in ourselves. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister has chosen a very different approach. He's chosen to divide, to drive fear, and to weaken the very freedoms we are all supposed to protect. He's chosen to make Muslims, your family, your friends, the scapegoat of his political debates. Why else would he openly suggest that Islamicism is Canada's biggest threat, or single out Canadian mosques as home to radicalization? The Prime Minister's comments are offensive, they fuel Islamophobia, and he should apologize. And why else would the Harper government try to convince Canadians that they have to choose between their security and their freedoms? You and I know that that's a false choice. Of course, protecting the public is the top priority of any government. And we understand the threat of terrorism at home and abroad is very real. But government responsibility also includes protecting our way of life and our shared values. Yet Mr. Harper's Conservatives have introduced a bill that is sweeping, dangerously vague, and likely ineffective. Mr. Harper's bill could target any Canadian who disagrees with his government, regardless of whether or not they are a real threat. Despite the real concerns of a growing list of experts, including 4 former Prime Ministers, the government is rushing this bill through Parliament without any meaningful consultation or oversight. The truth is, the Harper government isn't interested in working together to make Canadians safer. They're only interested in playing politics. That's why he introduced that bill hundreds of miles away from Parliament in a campaign, not in the House of your elected officials. Unfortunately, the Liberal Party has chosen to side with Conservatives. On Monday of this week, just a few days ago, the Liberals stood with the Conservatives and voted in favour of this new bill, despite those obvious dangers. Mr. Harper's Conservatives appear to have intimidated Justin Trudeau and the Liberals into weakening your fundamental freedoms, all of our fundamental freedoms. That's not the kind of leadership that Canada needs. Mr. Trudeau has shown poor judgment and a complete lack of principle, and that's going to hurt your community and your family. New Democrats will not be intimidated. It's more important than ever for leaders to show courage, to have principled, responsible, and balanced approach. You know, in the United States, for example, President Obama is working with communities and faith leaders, supporting them in their efforts to fight radicalization before it starts. Canada needs a similar approach, yet there is nothing in Mr. Harper's bill to fight radicalization. The fact is, we don't have to give up our cherished freedoms in order to be more secure. That's why New Democrats are calling on the Conservative government not to rush this anti-terrorism legislation through Parliament and to listen to the concerns of experts and of ordinary Canadians. And that's why we're calling on the Liberal Party to reverse its support for this dangerous bill and to work with the official opposition to protect the fundamental freedoms of all Canadians. New Democrats will always be committed to fairness and justice, whether it's pressuring the government to boost aid to Syrian refugees or pressuring the Prime Minister to personally intervene and help bring Mohamed Fahmy back to Canada. Friends, I'm here with you today because New Democrats understand that Islam is not our enemy. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, Hassan Youssef, who is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress, spoke to our caucus. And it was a moving testimony to what it was like to feel that pressure. And he wanted everyone to know that Hassan is a very Canadian name. Muslim Canadians make remarkable contributions to this country. I hope we get to see that on the news one day, inshallah. You deserve to live and raise your children without fear and suspicion. I'm proud of the close bond that New Democrats have with Muslim community leaders and with the Muslim Canadian community in general, and that applies right across this great country of ours. And I'm committed to continuing our work together, building prosperity for the middle class, opportunities for your children, and unity for all Canadians. By working together, we can build a better Canada and a more peaceful and respectful world. Thank you very much. Merci.